Hi, I'm Lonna Kelly, and this is Hudson Valley Arts Speak. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to be talking to Jeremy Ruman, who is going to tell us a sort of a different story than what we usually talk about on Hudson Valley Arts Speak. Jeremy has been deeply involved in the restoration of a hotel that's situated about 15 feet from a railroad track. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming. And so let's talk about the Merwinsville Hotel.
I know.
You've been involved with it, from what you told me, your whole life, really.
Pretty much. My dad was the one who kind of started the whole restoration, and it was just a very fluky happening. He was driving home from work, and he would always take different roads home, and he passed by this hotel or this very derelict building that he thought was just really amazing. And then he couldn't find it again because he just really couldn't remember where it was. So years went by, and my parents bought a house in Gaylordsville, which is where the Merwinsville Hotel is located. And he drove up the road from the house that they had just purchased, and there was the building. So he just felt it was, meant to be, that somebody needed to save it, and he kind of took it on that was going to be his job. So
can you tell me a little bit about the history of the hotel, say when it was built and how it became a hotel?
It was built in 1842, and Sylvanus Merwin had a tavern on the other side of the Housatonic River in Gaylordsville. And he heard that the railroad was coming through. There were a couple of gentlemen there that were surveying. So he quickly purchased this property that did not have anything on it at the time. And then when the railroad came and said, we want a right-of-way through your property, he said, I'm not going to let you have that unless you stop at my hotel. And so he built this hotel. It was a meal stop mainly, and it was very successful. It opened in 1843 in time for the railroad to come through. And then it was very successful up until around the 1870s, 1880s, and then they started putting Pullman cars on trains. And then it started to fall into disrepair.
Right. So in the days when it was originally built, you couldn't buy food on a train.
Right. Yeah. There was no way to have food on the train, and it was the halfway point roughly from the coast up to Pittsfield, and a lot of people summered in Pittsfield. So they would stop there for their meals, lunch, and then continue on, or dinner or whatever. So it was quite the bustling place at the time.
I bet it was. And people would come and stay overnight, or would they wait for the train there?
We think so. We don't have a ton of information because by the time the restoration started, a lot of information about the hotel was totally gone because it had been used by then for lumber storage. It had been a private residence like through the 1940s, and then it just kind of continued on a downward spiral.
Right. So when you were a child, you used to slip in there and play?
Yeah. My sister and I, one of the rooms, which is now an apartment, we have a full-time person living in the building all the time. But before that, we would kind of go around the edges of the room because the middle of the floor had fallen through all the way to the cellar. So it was all kind of very exciting as a kid to, be a daredevil.
Yeah.
So.
And does the train still go by there?
Not passenger, it's just freight train that goes by.
Yeah. It's so close to the hotel, I can't believe how close it is.
Yeah. Well, what we would consider is the back of the hotel was really the front. So the train side was really the front of the hotel. And it was right there. You got off the platform and walked pretty much right in.
Yeah. So when the restoration started in the 70s, or the idea for it kind of came to fruition then?
1971 was when the restoration began. The building was donated to the restoration for $1, which was a wonderful thing. The gentleman who owned it at the time. My dad was very excited about all kinds of things, history or trains or ships or Civil War, all these things. So I think his enthusiasm helped kind of band everybody together, and so that's when they started.
Seems like that you could hit on a lot of things there with the train and the history.
Oh yeah,
and,
oh yeah.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, so what was involved? I mean, looking at the pictures, the house, the building was really in terrible condition.
It was in terrible, terrible condition. So especially the picture up in the gold frame.
Yes.
On the top, that was 1971 when they started. And they had to take out a lot of the plaster out of the building. They ended up having to jack the building up, and they put a steel beam in the basement. There used to be, and well, the pictures that we have don't show it, there was a railroad station right next to this building that was moved and turned into a private residence. And the company that was moving that building very graciously helped with shoring up this building as sort of a, good faith kind of donation. It was really, really, yeah, it was right.
Yeah.
Right.
An in-kind donation.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's terrific. That was a great way to get started.
Absolutely. So it's come a really long way. We're really proud of it. Still always restoration. Lots always to do with a building that was built in 1842. We just got painted like within the past couple weeks. The exterior was all repainted. And we have an art show actually coming up this weekend. We do several art shows during the year to help raise funds. It's kind of a nice thing because it gives back to the artists, and then a portion of sales also goes towards the restoration of the hotel.
Right, and is that your main fundraising activity?
Typically, we have a wine tasting also that'll be coming up in June. So we kind of sprinkle different things throughout the year.
Yeah, yeah. And this year you're doing Give Local?
Yes, we're doing Give Local. So we're excited about that. That's next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yes, coming
May
up
3rd
very
and 4th,
soon.
very soon. So this will be our 3rd year of doing Give Local.
And how does that work out?
It works out great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I think they started it, this is their 3rd year as well, through the Connecticut Community Foundation. And I think the first year we made over $1,000, same with the second last year, over $1,000.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
It is. I have some knowledge of it. I've worked on campaigns a little bit for it. So it's great if you can get the momentum to, get people to share the emails, to share the information.
Right, yeah. And it's nice, they have a leaderboard so you can check and see how different, organizations are doing. I always get very caught up because I feel bad if somebody doesn't have any donations. And
Do you get tempted?
I get very tempted.
So tell me about the art shows, because that's really how I got to know you and got to know a little bit more about Merwinsville. How did that get started, and what is the process? Because I think that it might be interesting for people to know, or who might want to consider doing something like that.
It started, our existing board member, who's our treasurer, who's been with the hotel since the very beginning. His wife started the art show, and this will be our 28th year. She did it for a really long time. It was wonderful. And then she got ready to kind of pass the baton. So we've taken that up, and it's a great way to show off a lot of wonderful art. We have a really nice mix, I think, of artists and craftspeople, and it's a wonderful way to keep everybody involved. My dad's vision was to use the building, and it's a really great way to use the building.
Yeah, and it brings in a really nice crowd.
It
too.
really does. It's just fun. It's just really fun.
So you're doing around Columbus Day weekend?
Yeah, every Columbus Day weekend we open on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We're open all three days, 10 to 5, and I usually send out invitations to everybody in August or so, and then we kind of just see what comes in the doors, and then we kind of plan on how we hang when we see what arrives. Yeah,
you seem to get an awful lot of people participating. I mean, the show is always packed.
Yes, yeah. This past year we had around 85, 90 artists all together, and I think the biggest show we had was the year before was 105. It was huge.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
lots of inventory.
Yeah,
So.
but that runs the gamut from jewelry and
Yes.
small pieces to
Sculpture
sculptural
to
pieces.
to wood furniture.
Uh-huh.
It's just a really nice mix. Pottery, glassware. Just lots of fiber arts. Pretty much everything.
And the opening is fun too. You have music,
Yes.
wine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah, it's catered. It's just a really nice party.
Yeah. So what is ultimately what is it that you hope for the hotel?
Well, I would say we want to continue that, the restoration that needs to be done. We have a huge project that we don't have the money for. It will be surprising if we'll ever have the money for it. We have a third floor ballroom that we would love to restore. Right now that's pretty much just lath and a little bit of remaining plaster. And but in order for us to do the ballroom, we need to put in fire stairs, and for us to put in fire stairs, then we have to move our well, and for us to move our well, then we have to move our septic. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So we don't know how that's ever going to play out, but we're always hopeful.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we're doing some shoring up down in our basement, and some shoring up actually up in the ballroom too. We sent that out for bid for that work.
So going up from the first floor and to the second floor, there are one or two staircases, or
It's
the
actually
staircase splits?
it's 4 staircases that come up or down, and then there's 2 more staircases after that go up to the ballroom.
Okay, so in the middle level, is that is the level where people would stay?
Yes, if somebody wanted to stay. It had several rooms that they could have stayed in, but it doesn't seem like that was the main reason, that it was not really an overnight kind of a place, just because there was really nothing else around.
Yeah,
It was just sort of this hotel kind of plunked
yeah,
next to the railroad tracks.
in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, right.
Yeah, but what I read on the website, there used to be dances upstairs
Yes,
and a lot
yeah.
of activity going on.
Yeah. So I think, if you did get plunked at the hotel in the middle of nowhere, there was
Yeah.
things going on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a destination. It wasn't
Right,
like,
right.
this is where you're going.
Was there a men's and a woman's side?
We're not sure. We think maybe it had to do with flow, all those different staircases
Right.
for trains coming in.
That's a lot of staircases.
Yeah. So, but a lot of it is guesswork.
Yeah.
But
So, do you ever, what else goes on there? I mean, in terms of, do you ever do classes there or do history things?
we haven't had
photography?
we haven't had any classes there. It's been mainly, we have the art show at Columbus Day, this new art show this coming weekend, which is our first one. We're having a spring show. And then at Christmas time, we have a really great holiday show.
Yes.
And it's not just arts and crafts, it's also, wonderful decorations, and, we have all kinds of story time and just all kinds of little activities going on. It's a huge train set with, villages and all that kind of fun stuff. So kids of all ages just seem to love it.
Yeah, I actually know somebody who moved in across the street from the hotel, and they're thrilled that it's there.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah, they love that it's
That's
there,
so
and
nice.
the trains and everything.
Right.
So that's our 15 minutes.
Wow.
We actually
It does go
time
by
goes
fast.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having me. I
coming,
really
Jeremy.
appreciate it.
Thank you.